Hey, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, drop a like on my video, and share it on social media. Thanks. Hello. Today I want to talk about an article I found regarding the US military. Apparently, there was some sort of demonstration that was traveling around the country to various military installations, and it involved this pardon me, it involved this image right here, this pyramid image. Let's go up to the top of this article here and see what it says. Army investigates handout suggesting Trump campaign slogan constitutes covert white supremacy. So this was being handed out to the Army. There's an article here. It goes into all of the things that they did to kind of, figure this out, that this was happening. It's against the rules of the Army. The Army is not supposed to be political. They're supposed to be apolitical in their position, which makes sense, right? I mean, they have to defend all of us. That's their job in the world. So this is actually, I mean, it's not technically, it's not political. It's just racism. This is just telling you how white people are racist. And it has overt white supremacy up here at the top, and then all this covert stuff down here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. The first thing we have at the top of the list is lynching. Huh. See, that set off an alarm bell to me. Lynching. So I did a little looking. And lo and behold, look at this. Lynchings by year and race. 1882, 64 whites, 49 blacks? That can't be right. We've never lynched a white person. Why would we do such a thing? Perhaps it's because the lynching is based on crime, not race. It's based on crime, not race. It's wrong. It's wrong to lynch somebody simply because you don't use due process to determine the guilt of the person we're lynching. 77 whites, 53 blacks, 160 whites, only 51 blacks in 1884. It does flip. Eventually, it gets down here in 1886. You get 64 whites to 74 blacks, and then it just gets worse for blacks for most of the rest of the time. There are a few more years where there's more whites than blacks, but as you can see here, between 1891 and 1935, I think it is. Yeah, 1935. Yeah, it's pretty bad for blacks, and it's not really bad for whites. So when we come down to the bottom here, you end up with more than twice as many blacks lynched as you have whites. But the point is still here. I mean, it's based on things other than race. Race might be a big factor in this. They may be looking to lynch black people, but there's still lynchings of white people. I mean, as recent as 1964, there was 2 white people lynched and only 1 black person lynched that year. Lynching, of course, is illegal. It's been illegal. It's outlawed. So saying that lynching is overt racism is ridiculous. It happens to any race. It doesn't matter what your race is. Back to the article. Oh, we have these hate crimes here. I'm not going to pull up any stats on that, but we know that hate crimes happen to people of all races. All races, including white people. Gee, I've been threatened with grave bodily injury because of my race, and I'm white. That's a hate crime. Okay, so we can't say that hate crimes are exclusively happening to non-white people. Blackface. Oh, what if it's for a costume? What if some little white girl wants to go on Halloween as Moana and she puts on brownface? What's wrong with that? She's actually honoring the character by changing her appearance to resemble that character. What is wrong with that? I mean, what do they say? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery? I mean, really, and it is. It really is. It is a sincere form of flattery. Swastikas. Well, throughout most of human history, in most cultures, the swastika was used to represent the sun more than anything else. Only in recent times has it been used to represent Hitler and the National Socialist Party in World War II Germany. They were against white people too. They were against lots of different people, the Nazis. they are against anybody who did not fit their Anglo-Saxon. It wasn't really Anglo-Saxon because that comes from England, but blonde hair, blue eyes were the best. Anything less, I mean, I would have been a person that they were against. They were against people of my ancestry. At least a large portion of my ancestry. My ancestors come from all over Europe. Neo-Nazis, yes, neo-Nazis are known to be racist. Okay, yeah, you got one right. Burning crosses. Who burns crosses anymore? That's a symbol from the KKK, which is a just tiny little portion of the population. I mean, just minuscule portion of the population. They have these rallies and 10 people show up. Because we all know that it's wrong to be racist. Racist jokes are racial slurs. No, those are jokes. They're funny. It's funny to pick on people for any reason. And you know what I hear more than anything? I hear black people and Hispanic people picking on themselves, their own race, for their own racial qualities. And using racial slurs all of the time. All of the time. And racial insults are thrown towards white people too, but there's just not as many. It's not as colorful of a thing, at least in English. These things, it's fine to use them in a joking manner. And you know what? There used to be this thing we did. Yeah. Okay. Let's just go with it. Racial slurs are racist. Okay. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's what we used to say when I was a kid. Just let it roll off your back. They're just words. The KKK, the KKK is racist. We know that, but they're a tiny portion of the population anymore. So that's the overt stuff, the obvious stuff. Some of it, there's at least one thing on there I didn't touch. There's actually only one thing on there I didn't touch, but it was covered in slurs. They had to put it on there twice. So then we have covert white supremacy. It's all white people on top. Calling the police on black people. Really? Calling the police. So if a black man kicks the door of my apartment open and starts raping my wife, I'm not supposed to call the police on him, huh? Yeah. If that happens, you're right, I'm probably not going to call the police on him. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him right there in my apartment. Better have some pretty strong men with him to hold me back. If somebody's going to try that stuff. But no, if a black person is breaking the law, I'm going to call police on them. That's just how it is. White silence, so not saying anything about racism. I'm assuming that's what that refers to. I'm saying stuff about racism right now, about anti-white racism. See? And we'll get to why that's a problem later on. Color blindness. I'm supposed to say stuff, and I'm not supposed to be colorblind. Okay, that makes sense. I'm supposed to say stuff, and I'm not supposed to be colorblind. All right. I thought it was fine just to treat everybody the same, regardless of what they look like. Okay. White parents. Okay, so every white person in the country is inherently white supremacist because they have white parents. There's a lot of people in this country that are white and are parents, and that are not parents but have white parents, or are parents and have white parents. So yeah, it's pretty commonplace. Self-segregating. Okay, I'm not sure if that goes with white parents. White parents self-segregating, is that how that's supposed to work? Because it's just supposed to be self-segregating. But people of color want to self-segregate. They want to segregate. They don't want to be around white people necessarily. Where I'm from, Midwestern city, there was a part of my city called Taco Town. I didn't make up the name. That's what it's called, Taco Town, because Hispanic people wanted to be there. They were allowed to live in other places in the city. In fact, they did, but there was a large concentration of them in one part of the city, and they would look to move to that part of the city if they could, to be around other people like them. I guess it's self-segregating neighborhoods and schools. That's how it's supposed to be. Well, either way, what I said matters, right? It's the same thing. Self-segregating schools. That's illegal, isn't it? I don't know what to tell you about that. Maybe it happens, but it's not supposed to. It's illegal. Eurocentric curriculum. Yeah, that's terrible. To learn about all of the things that made this country what it is. Yeah, we should really learn about Asian culture, and African history and South American history because those things made America what they are. No, we're learning about the stuff that made our culture what it is, what made this country what it is. That seems to be a little bit more pertinent than learning about what tribe conquered what tribe in 800 AD in Africa, right? It's not rocket science to figure this out. And Africa, most of Africa didn't really do much. And when I was in school, we studied Egypt. We studied Egypt. We studied Central America. We studied South America. We didn't really study Asia, as I can recall. We didn't really study Asia. I took an Asian history course when I was in college, but I don't think we did anything in public schools. It was mostly focused on Europe. Why? Well, gee, what do you know? We build European style buildings using European architecture. Most of our ancestry is European. White people come from Europe and they invented things like paved roads, the automobile, the computer, the airplane, air conditioning, the telephone, penicillin, all these things that we use to build our country and make it what it is. So, yeah, it's kind of important that we understand the history of Europe more so than other countries. That's just how it is. White savior complex. Oh, I'm not supposed to be silent. I'm not supposed to be colorblind, and I'm not supposed to have white savior complex. So, that seems to contradict being silent. I mean, I'm supposed to speak up. Wait, no, you're being a white savior. Okay, wait a second. I don't understand. If I speak up, I'm a white savior, but I'm not supposed to be a white savior because that's bad. But I'm not supposed to be silent. Oh man, just can't win. Spiritual bypassing. Oh yeah, this I'm not sure what this is. I think I looked it up. Let me see here. Yeah, what is spiritual? This like doesn't really say. I think what it is it's like a tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to sidestep or avoid facing unsolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. Okay, yeah. So turning my emotional instability over to God. I don't have any idea how that's white supremacy, but I are we saying that it's like just let God deal with these feelings of racism? I don't know. Education funding from property taxes. I guess if we're taxing people of non-white ancestry more so than people of white ancestry, that would be illegal. Otherwise, using property taxes to do anything the government wants to do, I mean, that's not racist. It's just the way that it is. White people get taxed. Every other race gets taxed too if you own property. That's how it is in this country. Discriminatory lending. That's illegal. It's been illegal since the 1960s. Yeah. And it's primarily based on income. Lending is based on income. Banks want to lend people money. Okay? So if they can, they will. If you have good enough credit, they'll lend to you. It doesn't matter what you look like. So that's garbage. Mass incarceration. Well, if one group of people, one that is considered a race of people, is committing a lot more crime than say other races, you might want to arrest more people than that racial group than in the other races. Just that's I don't really have any answer for you other than if you're committing crimes, you're gonna get arrested for them. There may be, I guess, some, as I've pointed out, I think it's Christopher Wood. He was a Baltimore police officer, former Baltimore police. He's like, yeah, you can't really arrest the white people because they got an uncle who's a judge and he's gonna get off, and the police chief wants to see that you're doing a good job. So there are these corrupt police stations in the country, but those are the exception, not the rule. Where I live right now, you're hard pressed to find even a black person living here, but there are a lot of Hispanic people living here. Like 40% of the population is Hispanic. They get arrested. White people get arrested too. I don't see the police going after people of any racial group. Anywhere I've lived in the South, I've never seen this discrimination. I haven't looked at the numbers, but well, I haven't actually looked at the numbers. I have looked at the numbers, and it's just don't commit crimes, you won't get arrested. Respectability politics. I have no idea what that is. I'm not going to look it up. I don't care. It's probably something stupid. It makes no sense, like everything else on this list. Tone policing. Well, if you're going to be loud and disruptive, I'm gonna tell you to be quiet. All right. And I would expect the same from you if I were being loud and disruptive. I would be yelling and screaming, making lots of noise when you're trying to, enjoy quiet ambiance. Yeah, you should probably say something to me. Racist mascots, no such things. Mascots are there to support the team, to promote the team. It can be anything you want it to be. In fact, it's a form of flattery. So again, imitation. Yeah, sincerest form of flattery. Not believing experiences of BIPOC. BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color, which is retarded because all you need is Black, Indigenous people. You don't need the OC on there. Okay. Well, people don't believe my experience. I say I don't have any white privilege, and they're like, yeah, you do. You're white. You have white privilege. Nope, I don't. Don't have any. Sorry. But I have to believe their lived experience. Yeah. Paternalism. I have no idea why that's a problem. Being fatherly. Maybe it's because like Black people have more single parent households than any other group of people than white people do. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's all about. I don't know. Make America Great Again. Hey, there it is. Trump's little phrase that has nothing to do with race. If you think it does, okay, maybe that's what's implied with that. But I don't see that as having anything to do with race. America is not doing well. I mean, just turn on the news. How many buildings were torched last night? It's how many people were killed because people want to riot. Okay. Blaming the victim. Well, it just depends. I mean, I've had to do a lot of work on myself and take ownership for the things that I did. Say, look, I was victimized by this, but I took an active role in that victimization. Or I took maybe a passive-aggressive role in that victimization. Or I don't know how to say, like an ignorant role in that victimization. A lot of times that happens. Like, we don't realize that what we're doing to ourselves. It doesn't mean that you did all of that to yourself, but it's true that that's just the case. It's like, I am where I am in my life largely because of what I've done. I'm not saying that's the only factor. I'm not saying that's even the major factor, but it is a big factor because I am doing things. I am acting in this world. So, hiring discrimination. Well, that's illegal. It's been illegal since the 1960s. And from what I've seen, hiring is mostly based on merit, ability. Look at the team that I work on right now, and every job I've ever had really has been racially diverse. The team I work on right now, there's 2 blacks, 3 Hispanics, 3 Asians, a half Jewish guy. It's a diverse group regarding race. So you don't sound black. Well, we all have to get along in this country. We should all try to sound the same. I'm using the Midwestern accent, the acceptable accent for communication in this country. Almost every person in the media uses this accent. This is Midwestern English. Learn to speak it. Learn to speak English correctly. What are you doing in the country if you don't know how to speak the language? I understand that if you come here, you're a foreigner, you're visiting, or you're trying to learn the language. I get that. But if you're just here and you're not gonna learn the language, or you plan on staying, and you're not gonna learn the language. No, none of that needs to be happening. Don't blame me. I never owned slaves. Yes, this is true. I've never owned slaves. Why are you complaining about something that didn't happen to you, that might not have even happened to your direct ancestors, and that is not happening now, and has not been happening for over 150 years? It was outlawed over 150 years ago in this country. It's still going on in other countries. There are other countries that have slavery and that enslave black people. But you only want to focus on this country and the fact that white people had slaves. Get over the past. If you keep living in the past, you're never going to move past it. Bootstrap theory. Bootstrap theory is the theory that says that in the United States, if you work hard, you're a good person, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, that is largely true. It's not 100% the case, but there is a lot of truth to that. In the United States, you have a free economy where you can work and build wealth. If you figure out a way of making money, you can do it, no matter what your race. School to prison pipeline. I don't know what an individual is going to do about that. Stand against the so-called school to prison pipeline? Is there such a thing? Is there actually a pipeline that just says, oh, we're just going to take these people and we're going to put them through school, and then once they get out of school, we're just going to put them into prison? That doesn't happen. People are going to prison because they're committing crimes. Police. Oh, so these BIPs, BIPOCs. I'm just going to call them BIPs. Just call them BIPs from now on because we don't need the OC on there. So police murdering BIPs, but police murder whites too. So I'll pull up the demographics, the graph when I post this. I'll have the graph up there, so you can see that the police are killing more white people than they are black people. Yeah, so you can't sit here and say that like if they kill any BIP, that's just white supremacy. No, it's not. Not when they're killing white people too. That doesn't make any sense. Virtuous victim narrative. The virtuous victim narrative, I didn't know what that was. I looked it up. And what it came up with, the first thing it came up with was narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy. That was the first article. It was talking about how this is related to being a narcissist, a psychopath, or a sociopath. Great. You want that being on here? Virtuous victim narrative? Being a psychopath is covert white supremacy. Okay then. This is just anything that you can stick to the wall, right? Higher infant and maternal mortality rate for BIPs. I don't know how. I don't know the studies on this. I don't know. I'm not going to look into it. It's going to take me a while to figure this out. Maybe this is coming from a lot of different influences, though. Maybe it's due to poverty, right? There are more often Hispanics and blacks are poor than whites, Asians, Jews, so on and so forth. So it's probably more poverty than anything else. And also, in addition to that, is the better doctors might be going to areas where they can make more money, because they're not going to make a lot of money in a poorer community where they have to work basically as a social worker. So they're on the government dime instead of getting individual clients, individual patients coming to them. Maybe it's a cultural thing where BIPs are not going to the doctor as they should. Maybe it's a cultural thing where BIPs are not eating as they should. They're not eating the right types of food. They're eating more junk food. So there's a lot of different factors that could contribute to this, that could be the reasoning for this. If it is, in fact, just doctors are racist, well, then yeah, that's overt racism. It's not covert racism. It's overt racism at that point. But what about me? Yeah, what about me? I have a lot of problems in my life. I have a ton of problems in my life. And, I can't sit here and go, well, I'm just going to ignore my problems and help you deal with your problems because you're a BIP. That makes no sense. Why would I? Why would I do that? Me and my wife have enough to deal with without dealing with your problems too. Let's see. All lives matter. Yes, my life matters. I am part of all lives, right? My life matters. I'm not a BIP, but my life matters. My wife is not a BIP. Oh no. I've opened the can a little bit. You know that she's not black. Oh. She's one of the other races. And I've already mentioned many times in my video she's not white. Her life matters. You think that people's lives don't matter just because they're not black? People go around saying BLM, BLM, BLM all the time, but they're ignoring the 99% of the rest of the population, 97% of the rest of the population that also matter. Let me see. BIP as Halloween costume. Why is that? Again, imitation is a serious form of flattery. What if you're like a huge fan of George Washington Carver and you want to go on Halloween dressed as him? What's wrong with that? You're not insulting anybody. Unless that person feels like they're being insulted, but that's a whole other can of worms. Like I can feel like I'm being insulted for anything. Racial profiling. Okay, I people are racist. Everybody's racist. I'm sorry, everybody. If you define racism as having a racial preference, every human being on the planet has a racial preference. Period. Whether they realize it or not, you prefer one race over the other, over all the others. I've met a lot of white women who will not date any man who's not black. Period. I've known white men who will not date white women because in America it is such a headache dealing with dating white women. They only date Asians and Hispanics. So yeah, people are going to be racist. You're never going to stop that. It is a part, in spite of what the CDC says, it is not a disease. It is just a part of our psyche. Human beings prefer usually people that resemble them, but often it's any given race. Let's see here. Denial of white privilege. I do not have white privilege. I've not gained anything in my life because of my race. It just hasn't happened. Sorry. That's how it is. Prioritizing white voices as experts. I prioritize experts as experts. I don't really care about their race. I watched Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's an expert in astrophysics. He's a scientist. I look to him as an expert in that area. It doesn't matter to me what race he is. Treating kids of color as adults. Well, if they commit adult level crimes, children are often treated as adults, tried as adults. I don't agree with it, but hey, the world is a messed up place. People do things that are very harmful to others. Let me see. Inequitable healthcare. Haven't we talked about all this healthcare stuff? Again, it's probably based on poverty more than anything else. It's probably based on your own decisions not going to the doctor as often as you should. It's probably based on your own decisions not eating the right kinds of food, not exercising, doing things which are harmful to you, like drugs and alcohol, instead of doing things which are helpful to you, like eating nutritious foods and exercising and sleeping well. Assuming good intentions are enough. Well, we've all heard the phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Good intentions are a starting point, but you have to look at the bigger picture and see if your intentions are actually causing harm. So we can do lots of good stuff, lots of great stuff in this world. Do you think that those things just come out of nowhere? Good intentions. I'm assuming that they mean like, hey, look, I wish black people well. That's all, what else can I do? And really, what else can I do? I mean, what else? You expect me to sacrifice my whole life volunteering to help out black people because they've been given the short end of the stick? Black people should help out black people. I'm willing to do my part, but I mean, I got enough stuff to deal with. Full-time job, full-time relationship, my own health issues. I don't have time to be going around doing a lot of stuff for a lot of other people. Let's see here. Not challenging racist jokes. Okay, well, I thought I wasn't supposed to be a white savior. That was previously in the article or in the pyramid. So am I not supposed to be a white savior, or am I supposed to challenge racist jokes? And besides, they're jokes. Get over it. And you know what? If this is a joke where the white person is the butt of the joke, that's probably okay, isn't it? That's probably 100% okay. But hey, if the black person is the butt of the joke, oh my gosh, you're worse than Hitler. How dare you, sir? It's a joke. Get over it. Cultural appropriation. Okay, well then, The blacks, the Hispanics, and the Asians have to stop using paved roads. They have to stop using the telephone. They have to stop using computers. They have to stop using airplanes. They have to stop using automobiles. They have to stop watching and playing baseball. They have to do all of these different things, stop doing all these different things which are culturally white, that were developed by white people and shared with everyone because we don't really care. We're just like, yeah, you want this? Fine. We'll share it with you. We treat all people the same, in spite of what this image would have you believe. Let's see here. Eurocentric beauty standards. It's hey, if you find white people more attractive than other people, then that's on you. And you know what? I was recently in Asia. I didn't see a whole lot of. In fact, I didn't see any of. I didn't see any billboards or magazine covers or posters with black people on them, or with Hispanic people on them. I did, however, see billboards, magazines, posters with Asian people on them, and with white people on them. So all of a sudden, Asians are covert white supremacists too. Yeah, I don't really think so, since they outnumber white people by a lot. They outnumber everybody by a lot. Anti-immigration policies. Okay, so my ancestry is largely Romanian. As I was saying, Hitler would have been against me because he was against Slavic people, which Romania is a Slavic country. If the United States says we're not taking any immigrants from Romania, that's anti-immigration, but it has nothing to do with BIPs, or in the case of this country, Hispanics actually. And you know what? I've met Hispanic people that were whiter than I am. They had blue eyes, lighter hair color than I do. I've met Hispanic people who look like they just came from China. In fact, they did. Yeah, people from Brazil. I mean, there are Asian people that have immigrated to other parts of the world, South America. So, anti-immigration is not about race. It's about culture. It's about not letting 100 million people with a different cultural norm come to your country and then take over. If that happened, this would not be the United States anymore. If we all started speaking Spanish, this would not be the United States anymore. Considering AAVE uneducated, well, AAVE is the way that black people speak. It is uneducated. You don't speak as if you are educated, as if you are well read, as if you understand English. So, yeah, sorry, that's just the truth. Denial of racism. Denial of racism. No, racism exists. I suppose if you denied it exists, then yeah, that would be covert something or other. It's not covert white supremacy. It's not. Just to say there's no such thing as racism. Tokenism. All right, well, we need to remake all of the Star Wars films then, except for the first one, because Billy D. Williams was a token in the original trilogy. Then you had Samuel L. Jackson in the prequel trilogy, and then you have John Boyega, which, I mean, I don't care about Disney, so whatever. Do whatever you want to do with that garbage. But, yeah, okay, so I have no problem. I have no problem if you want to make all your movies full of only white actors. I don't care. Because that's what you're saying here, that if we put in people of other colors, because that's what's happening with these movies, you're putting in women and people that are not white, just because they are not white men. You're telling me that every time I turn on, I gotta hear, oh, there's gotta be a black Spider-Man. Oh, there's gotta be a black Thor. There's gotta be a black Iron Man. There's gotta be a black Wolverine. There's gotta be all these different. Everybody has to be black. But you're saying that's bad now? Okay, whatever, man. English only initiatives. Okay, well, if you live in a country, that country should have one language. Sorry, Canada, you're doing it wrong. Canadians should only speak one language. I don't care what language that is, but they should only speak one. Americans, same way, should only speak one. There's other countries that speak more than one language. You should only speak one language in a country. That's it. In fact, I would say we should just make one language the world language. That's it. And I, as much as I want to say, yeah, you have your own culture, you do that. We all have to be able to communicate with each other across the entire world. It'd just be a lot easier if we all just started speaking the same language. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people in this world who are going to be like, no, it's got to be my language. No, I mean, get on with the program. I'm willing to learn other languages, so it's not English. I'm willing to do that, but it's we should the whole world should only be speaking one language, basically. Obviously, there's some isolated areas where probably it doesn't matter, but yeah, you're living in a country that decided to use English as its dominant language, and everybody who wants to live here should speak English. Period. Self-appointed white ally. Oh, so who's supposed to appoint me then? Who would appoint me? If I'm not going to do it myself, who's going to do it for me? Exceptionalism. I'm not sure what the exceptionalism thing is. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's racist or not. Fearing people of color. Well, people are racist. There's all different types of people in the world. Some are going to fear people of different colors, different races. Some are going to just fear everybody. Police brutality. Well, police brutality is wrong, and it happens to white people too. It happens to people of all races. I was watching a video. I used to have a Vietnamese roommate. He showed me a video from Vietnam where a Vietnamese police officer punched a Vietnamese citizen in the face. Shocking, because that's white supremacy. That's covert white supremacy. That police officer was committing covert white supremacy there. They probably mean if it only happens in America, though, right? Well, the police are overly aggressive with people of all races. Look up Tony Timpa. Happened a year and a half ago. Same scenario as George Floyd. Nobody was up in arms about that. A white boy being killed by the police because he was handled too roughly. And nobody complained about it. Nobody rioted up for it. So, fetishizing BIPs. Why would you ever fetishize BIP? Like I said, I've known some white girls who refuse to date anybody who isn't a black man. So I assume they're fetishizing them. Yeah, that's racism. If you're saying no, I'm not going to do anything with anybody who isn't this one race. Meritocracy myth. It's not a myth. It might be an exaggeration, but it's not a myth. Merit is the driving force for what happens to you economically in this country. It's not the only force, but it is the main force. You're so articulate. So what's wrong with telling somebody they're articulate? It's not racist. Say you're articulate. Sorry, it's just not. Celebration of Columbus Day. Oh my goodness, Columbus was such an evil bastard. I mean, he came here, he conquered the United States. He killed every indigenous person living here. No. Look, the indigenous people living here were killing each other long before Columbus came. They were doing it to take land and take resources from other people. Columbus just did it better. And it wasn't based on race, necessarily. I mean, if he had come here and there were white people here, he would have done the same thing. It's like, you're worshipping false gods, we're going to kill you now. It's that simple. And Columbus was not that bad compared to the people around him at that time. Other people alive at that time. People were more brutal in the past than they are today. We have to understand that other people suffer, other people feel pain, and we can empathize with that. Claiming reverse racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. There's only racism. There's racism against every race by every other race. So reverse racism is not covert white supremacy, because reverse racism is not a thing. Claiming that there's racism against white people is not covert white supremacy. It's simply a fact that there are people who are racist against whites. Paternalism, we have that again on here. It's on here twice, so I don't know what that's all about. Weaponized whiteness, I don't know what that is, and I don't even want to know. Expecting BIPs to teach white people. Who else is going to teach me? I mean, who's going to teach me how they want to be treated other than that person, right? If I want somebody to treat me a certain way, I'm going to tell them, treat me this way. And this is not true of all BIPs. Believing we are post-racial. Well, we would be if especially black people would stop dwelling on the past. And if Hispanic people, when they came to the United States, if they said, we're going to learn the language and we're going to work hard to adopt the culture here. But they don't want to do that. So, but we are all one big human family. Yes. There's only one human race. Yes. I can have children with anybody of any other race on the planet. Therefore, guess what? We're all one race, the human race. Housing discrimination. Oh, housing discrimination. Well, you're in luck because I looked up redlining. I found a lot of articles on redlining. Most of them said, hey, redlining was done by neighborhood, and it was based on income. Here, look at this. This is a pretty good one right here. It talks about it in more detail. And it does mention that, like, mainstream media wants you to believe that this is all done by race, but it's not racial. It's not racial at all. You have 22%, 22.3% of white applicants were rejected. 12% of Asians were rejected. It's not done by race. Yeah, up here you have 44% of black people saying, twice as many black people, 44.6 compared to 22.3. But then you have fewer Asian people and Native Hawaiians being rejected. Almost half of what the percentage is for whites. Seems awfully suspicious to me if it's based on race. Don't you think that, it would be all the white people getting all the loans and, say, the blacks and the Asians not getting the loans? I don't know what to tell you about that, but yeah, supposedly redlining is more based on income rather than race, and it is illegal. So if you want to redline based on race, that's been illegal for a long time, since the 60s. Let's move on down here. We have these other images, I guess, went along with this image, but these apparently had nothing to do with the talk that was given. So there's been an investigation on all this stuff, right? We have really good careers, an equal opportunity employer. Well, hey, the artist of this comic here doesn't realize that he basically wrecks his own idea by the image that he's drawn here. The reason that women don't get the really good careers is because they have children. This woman has a child with her, and the child is pulling on her. He has things that he needs and he wants that the woman has to give to him. Somebody has to raise the children. I mean, I'm sorry, but somebody has to raise our children. And if you sideline your career to raise children, that is a great thing to do. Women have maternal instincts. Most women I meet want to have children. They want to be a mother. I can't say the same for most men. I'd say that most men I meet don't really care either way, one way or the other. And besides which, if I look at my own life, my boss's boss is female, her boss is female. I have female colleagues that make the same amount of money I do, even though they were hired after I was. And they were hired because they were women. They don't know this, but they were hired because they were women. At least one of them was. They were looking for a woman because we didn't have any women in our team. So you're telling me that these women who make a ton more money than I do, not the ones that are my direct colleagues, but my boss's boss and her boss, they make way more money than I do. I'm sorry, they make way more money. They have a really good career. My sister makes more money than her 3 brothers combined. Both of my brothers married women who make more money than they do. These careers are out there for women. There's nothing keeping them from getting them. And I'm not usually critical of cartoons because they're just trying to make a statement about modern society, whether it's true or not. They're just, they got to put out so many of these a week, a month. So they're just trying to come up with something clever to say. I just take it with a grain of salt when I see these things. But yeah, I just wanted to point out this is not true. And then we have this other one over here. This is Black America and then White America. Black America says, I can't breathe. And White America says, I can't see. And I think what they're trying to say here is white Americans don't see the plight of black Americans, which is not true. I'm sorry, George Floyd. George Floyd started saying, watch the police footage, he started saying, I can't breathe. He was sitting down, his legs hanging out of the police car, barely just leaning on the seat, basically saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Then he had enough energy, even though he can't breathe, to fight the police and struggle his way out of the vehicle when they tried to put him in the vehicle. And begged to be held on the ground. He was held on the ground, repeatedly saying, Mama, I can't breathe. Oh, Mama, I can't breathe. I'm sorry, but if you can say I can't breathe, you can breathe. You can't talk unless you can breathe. All right? Talking requires breathing. Right? One requires the other. And then I can't see... White people see very well what's happening with the black community. You want special treatment because you think white people are all evil. White people are all racist. White people are holding you back. And white people invented slavery in the United States in 1619. Don't you know? We see that. We see that very clearly. That's what you think. And you think that we need to be gone and this will be your country and it'll be greater and better than anything because you as Kangs and you're going to be Kangs again when you're in the United States by yourselves without any white people holding you back. Not all black people feel this way, I'm sure, but there are enough of them that feel that way that this is the impression I get. You don't have to be racist. Okay, you're being racist when you assume white people are out to get you. They're not. I'll leave a link to this article. That's all I got for this time. I'm sorry this was a longer one, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you next time.